Hi, it's Stephanie, and today I'm going to do the Thank You Next book tag. This was created by Janine over at This Story Ain't Over. I will link her channel down below. And I'm not really an Ariana Grande fan, but I thought this tag sounded like a ton of fun, so I thought I would do it. And this is my first booktube tag video, so be kind. There are 8 questions, and you can double up on these, or you can answer them each individually, and I decided to answer them all individually. So the first question is, name a book that you said thank you next to, or DNF'd, which means did not finish. The book that I said thank you next to is Women Who Run with the Wolves, Myths and Stories of the Wild Woman Archetype by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And this is a book, I started reading it because I follow Our Shared Shelf, which is Emma Watson's book club. I've been following it for, I think this is the 4th year that it's been going on. And I really enjoyed the reads that Emma Watson picks. And this one, I don't remember what year and what month. It's been at least a year since this one was the book of the month. But I appreciated what Dr. Estes was trying to do. She was really looking at women and our archetypes, trying to get into the female psyche. And what I really liked about this book is she used a lot of stories or lore to set up as an example for the archetype she was going to talk about. Each chapter was so incredibly over-explained that I DNF'd this probably 100 pages in. I couldn't do it anymore. There's explaining and then there's over-explaining. Like I said, I appreciate what this book was trying to do, and I'm sure the author is a great person. She's obviously very intelligent since she has her PhD, but this was just not the book for me. The next 3 questions you can answer together or you can answer separately with different books, and I decided to use 3 different books. So the first one is, name a book that taught you love. And for this book, I chose Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This is set in Victorian England, and it follows the story of Tessa Gray. And she is kidnapped by the Dark Sisters, and they're members of a great organization that is called the Pandemonium Club, which, if you've read The Mortal Instruments, you'll recognize that name. And in the process, Tessa learns that she can transform into other people. And along the way, she takes refuge with the Shadow Hunters, and we meet Jim Carstairs and Will Herondale. And I love these characters so much, you guys. Like, I like The Mortal Instruments, and I haven't read The Dark Artifices yet, but the Infernal Devices are my favorite so far. There is kind of a love triangle between Tessa and Jim and Will, but it's not the traditional love triangle. They just all have such a beautiful love for one another, and they genuinely want the other person to be happy. And I think that's why I really enjoyed this love triangle. Usually they kind of get on my nerves, but this one didn't get on my nerves at all. It was just so beautiful. And the love that they feel for each other is incredible. And Jim and Will are parabatai, which is kind of hard to explain if you haven't read the Shadow Hunters, the Mortal Instruments books. But basically, they're just like this all the time. Hi, Lucy. Yeah. You have anything to say? Okay. So, yeah, this book taught me love. It's just so beautiful. So, if you haven't read this one, definitely check it out. You don't have to read the Mortal Instruments series to read this. There's no spoilers. Even though it is, you get a lot more out of it if you read them in publication order. But I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. The next book is a book that taught you patience. She's just floating around in the background back there. Hi. Yeah. She's been so whiny today. Yeah, you've been whiny. I love you. Yeah, I think you're cute. So, what? I'm trying to film my video. Thank you. That was rude. Okay, the book that taught me patience is City of Heavenly Fire. I'm not going to go into the plot of this because of spoilers, but I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, and I did really enjoy it, but it taught me patience because for so much of this book, I felt like the plot was just circling, but not really going anywhere. There was a lot of action, but it wasn't leading to anything. But the end made it worth it. For sure. The end definitely made it worth it. So definitely keep reading this. I had to have patience to get through this big hunkin' book because I wanted to find out what happened. I needed to know. And I did give it 5 stars. It was worth it. But oh my god, it was a long journey. It was. Still hanging in there? Okay. Is name a book that taught you pain. And that is Before the Devil Breaks You by Le Bray. This is the 3rd book in the Diviners series. I won't go too much into this book because, again, spoilers, but it's basically set in the 1920s in New York, and it's kind of a paranormal mystery series, which I'm describing it and it doesn't do it justice. The Diviners is one of my favorite series of all time. I've read the first book, The Diviners, at least 6 times. And there's just a lot of wonderful characters. I love the 1920s atmosphere. There's a lot of good representation in these novels. But this book, you guys, if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. But this book taught me so much pain. There's this one incident, and I ugly cried. And now I have to wait like 4 years for the next book because it takes her forever to write the sequel, which it's totally worth it, don't get me wrong, but oh my god, so much pain. But we'll just 5 out of 5 stars, but we're just gonna put this guy aside for now. Name a book that you loved at the time of reading, but in hindsight you do not like as much anymore, but which you still learned some other quality from. The book I chose was Twilight. Twilight was probably my intro into YA Lit, and when I was growing up, there wasn't nearly as much diversity as there is now in YA Lit, and this was before the movie came out, because I'm ancient, and I really did love it when I first read it. I flew through the series, and I kind of started to fall out of love with it when the movies came out, and then it was so hyped, and then I reread it a couple years later, and I just couldn't, I didn't enjoy it anymore. And I think now that, like, after reading it a couple years later, now that I know what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like, Edward made me very uncomfortable. He was kind of stalkerish, and there was just so many unhealthy things in that book. Like, I know that wasn't her intention, but it just made me uncomfortable. But I couldn't reread them. And I didn't watch all of the movies. The first one, the acting was so horrible. It was fun to watch just to watch the horrible acting. Like, I'm sorry, if you love Twilight, that's totally cool. I'm not trying to like slam your favorite author or your favorite book, but I don't love it anymore. And the next one is name a book that you're currently talking to, i.e. you have the hots for. So I just finished this book, Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I love this little baby so much. I haven't read sci-fi in forever. I honestly can't remember the last sci-fi book I read. Maybe the Time Machine? Maybe, like, in high school? I don't know, but this was so freaking good. And I couldn't put it down. When I wasn't reading it, I was thinking about reading it and planning on when I could read it next. And the writing was so good and the relationships are so good. And if I could date this book, I totally would. I have the hots for this book. And it's got a kick-ass female main character. And I loved seeing that. Like, I want to be Spensa. She's awesome. And at times she's unlikable, but she really just grows into herself. And this is a book. Spensa's father is labeled a coward because he aborted a mission. Their world has been at war for decades. And ever since that point, Spensa's been labeled the coward's daughter. And all she's wanted to do is be a pilot. And the coward's daughter label is really hindering her from getting there. Everybody looks down on her. They think she has the defect where she'll abandon the mission like her father did. And she ends up getting into flight school through some awesome circumstances. And we just follow her journey from there. It's funny. It's got awesome characters. There's excellent character development. The plot just goes up and down. There's an excellent climax at the end. I can't recommend this book enough. Like, go read it. 5 stars. 5 stars. Go read it. The last one is name the book that's gonna last. The Book of You, the book that helped you love yourself a little bit more. And I'm sure a lot of people say this book, but I'm gonna pick the Harry Potter series because of Hermione. My dad bought me this book when it first came out, first US publication, and I fell in love with the story. And I've probably reread this series 40, 50 times. I reread it at least once a year. And I just really love Hermione's character. And it really, growing up, I was always that kid who'd always read the classic books for fun before we read them in school. And I read all the time, and I kind of felt like I didn't fit in. I wasn't bullied or anything like that, but I had a lot of friends, but I just didn't really feel like there were people who just really, really got me. Once I read about her and how much everyone loved her and loved this series, that really just gave me confidence. Like, she's a bookworm, she's a nerd, she stresses out about school deadlines, and she has to make an A or a perfect score, and that is so me. And she just is such a kick butt character in this series, and she's just, her friendship with Ron and Harry is so lovely, and I will always love these books. Always. That is the Thank You Next book tag. I'm not going to tag anyone, but feel free to do this tag. And also go check out The Story Ain't Over, her channel. She's got a lot of really cool videos, and this is her tag, and her video is really fun and fun to watch, and she's adorable. So yeah, go check out her channel. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, make sure you click the bell icon so that you'll get notified whenever I upload new content, and I will see you guys in the comments.